President Nealon, I am honored to announce that members of the graduating class, the faculty and staff, and administrators of the Chicago School of Professional Psychology are now present. All are gathered here for the 2023 commencement ceremony of the Southern California and online campuses.
Thank you, Dr. Jones, and welcome to all of you. Before we begin, please stand and face the United States flag for the national anthem. Please be seated. Well, good morning. I'm Dr. Michelle Nealon, president of the Chicago School, and I have one very important responsibility before we begin, and that's to see how rowdy of a bunch you actually are. Yeah, that was kind of okay. You know, you usually get some housekeeping that says, please don't clap and please don't make noise and all these whirly things, and I'm like, no, let's see how noisy you actually are. So let's try again. Yep, that's pretty good. All right, we're going to have a good time together. It truly is my distinct honor and pleasure to welcome you to the Terrace Theater for the 2023 commencement ceremony of our Southern California and online campuses. Commencement is always a wonderful tradition at the Chicago School, and we're truly honored to share it with all of you. As you share these moments with your friends and families on social media, we saw you all out with your phones as you're walking in and finding your seats. Please do push out hashtag TCSBP SoCalGrad 23. My 24-year-old will be proud of me. Hashtag. Before we begin, please join in welcoming two very special guests who are with us today, and I'll ask both of them to stand as I call out their names. The first is Father Gregory Boyle, honorary degree recipient and commencement speaker. Welcome, Father Boyle. And second is Jenna Foster, our student rep for the graduating class. Thank you both. For all of our graduates, this event is the culmination of several years of study, and for some, several years of waiting to celebrate their accomplishments in person. For the families and loved ones of our graduates, I know that this event is the manifestation of all of your hopes and your dreams. And for my faculty colleagues whose programs our graduates have toiled, this is an event of immense pride also in their accomplishments. It's always a wonderful couple of hours together. We celebrate, we reflect, we prepare for the future. And as with all graduation ceremonies, advice will be given, stories will be told, there will be laughter, there will be tears, there will be silence, there will be a lot of noise. And I can never wait. So without further ado, I'm now going to turn over the podium and introduce our Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Ted Schultz.
Good morning. I welcome you to this important event in the Chicago Schools academic year, and thank you for joining us today. I have the pleasure of introducing Father Gregory Boyle, this year's honorary degree recipient. Gregory Boyle is the founder of Homeboys Industries in Los Angeles. The largest gang intervention, rehabilitation, and reentry program in the world. A Jesuit priest born and raised in Los Angeles from 1986 to 1992, Father Boyle served as pastor of Dolores Mission Church in Boyle Heights. Dolores Mission was the poorest Catholic parish in Los Angeles that also had the highest concentration of gang activity in the city. Father Boyle witnessed the devastating impact of gang violence on his community during the so-called Decade of Death that began in the late 1980s and peaked at 1,000 gang-related killings in 1992. In the face of law enforcement tactics and criminal justice policies of suppression and mass incarceration as the means to end gang violence, he and parish and community members adopted what was a radical approach at the time: treat gang members as human beings. In 1988, they started what would eventually become Homeboys Industries, which employs and trains former gang members in a range of social enterprises, as well as provides critical services to thousands of men and women who walk through its doors every year seeking a better life. Father Boyle is the author of the 2010 New York Times bestseller, Tattoos on the Heart, The Power of Boundless Compassion. His second book, Barking to the Choir, The Power of Radical Kinship, was published in 2017. And his new and third book is The Whole Language, The Power, Extravagant Tenderness, that recently debuted in fall of 2021. He received the California Peace Prize and been inducted into the California Hall of Fame. In 2014, President Obama named Father Boyle a champion of change. He received the University of Notre Dame's 2017 Laetare Medal, the oldest honor given to American Catholics. Homeboy Industries was the recipient of the 2020 Hilton Humanitarian Prize, validating Father Boyle's vision and more than 3 decades of work by the organization. Please join me in welcoming Father Gregory Boyle to the podium. President Nealon, it is my honor and pleasure to present Father Gregory Boyle for the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
By the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the Chicago School, I hereby confirm upon you, Father Boyle, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto pertaining. Father Boyle, I am very, very pleased and honored to present this honorary degree to you.
Thank you very much. I love the hood. I hate the hat, but you know, some time ago, Dr. Nealon called me and she said, "Greg, do you believe in free speech?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Good, you're giving one on June 9th. Let me just a shout out to Victor Avalos. Felicidades, carnal. And you know, the Chicago school, you could say about it what Martin Luther King said about church. It's not the place you've come to, it's the place you go from. And you go from here to imagine a circle of compassion, and then imagine nobody standing outside that circle. You go from here to dismantle the barriers that exclude. You go from the Chicago school to stand at the margins, because that's the only way they'll ever get erased, so that you can together create a community of cherished belonging. Systems change when people change, and people change when they're cherished. And so you stand with the poor and the powerless and the voiceless, and you stand with those whose dignity has been denied, and you stand with those whose burdens are more than they can bear. And every once in a while, you will have this distinct privilege to be able to stand with the easily despised and the readily left out. You will get to stand with the demonized so that the demonizing will stop. And you will stand with the disposable so that the day will come when we stop throwing people away. This is not the place you've come to, it's the place you go from, to create a community of kinship such that God might recognize it. And if kinship happened to be your goal, I think we would no longer be promoting justice. We'd be celebrating it. But you brace yourselves at the margins, because people will accuse you of wasting your time. But the prophet Jeremiah writes, "For in this place of which you say it is a waste, there will be heard again the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voices of those who sing." Other voices will get heard if you stand at the margins. So at Homeboy Industries for 35 years, you know, we have 10,000 folks a year walk through our doors trying to reimagine their lives. We have 13 justice enterprises, bakery and lots of restaurants and electronic recycling. And we have a Homeboy Silkscreen, where for 30 years they've had rival enemy gang members work side by side, printing thousands and millions of shirts for schools and universities and family reunions. And the guy who runs the place is Ruben, and he texted to me one day and he said, "I'm sending Gilbert to you," which can't be good news. Gilbert is, they call him Trippy, that's his gang name, and he works at Homeboy Silkscreen. So 20 minutes later, he comes into my office, and I said, "What happened?" And he said, "Well, supposedly, I stole some t-shirts." And I said, "Did you?" And he goes, "Yes." Well, it wasn't exactly stealing. I mean, it was 3 t-shirts. There were thousands of them. I said, "Oh, okay, let me see if I got this right. So I need a car, I want a car. I go to a car lot. There are 1,000 cars. I take one car. I mean, it's not really stealing, there's a bunch of them." And he looks at me and he says, "Exactly." And we stare at each other for a beat, and then we just fall out of our chairs howling with laughter, because I don't know what else you can do in a circumstance like that. The poet Rumi writes, "If the house of the world is dark, let love find a way to make windows." And so you move beyond your annoyance at this homie, and you find a way to stand in awe at what the poor have to carry rather than stand in judgment at how they carry it. There was a homie named Danny, and I met him in the housing projects many years ago, and he was a knucklehead. He was like 13 years old, and he always had a gun tucked in the front of his pants and always wanted to make sure you knew that he did. And he made a solemn vow, I will never step foot in Homeboy Industries. And then I met him again in juvenile hall and probation camp, and finally at 18, he was sent to prison for 2 years. And in gang recovery, they say it takes what it takes. It can be the birth of a son, the death of a friend, a long stretch in prison. For Danny, he came out of prison after 2 years, and this is what it took. He discovered that his mother had pancreatic cancer and 6 months to live. And out of a family of a great many siblings, he was the designated hospice caregiver, and I watched him treat his mother with such care and tenderness. She had not always been so tender with him. And then she died, and a week later I buried her. And a week after that, he walks into Homeboy Industries, and I watch him work side by side with guys I know he used to shoot at. And I watch him get his GED and do therapy and get his tattoos removed. And I watch him transform his pain so he doesn't have to transmit it anymore. And you do not go to the margins to make a difference. You go there so that the folks on the margins make you different. And so he was with us maybe like 6 months in our 18-month training program, and he comes into my office and he says, what happened to me yesterday has never happened to me in my life. And he tells me that he's on the Gold Line heading east at the Chinatown stop where our headquarters is. And he said he was able to get a seat even though the whole train was packed. And he said standing right in front of him, hanging onto a pole, he said, was a homie, older vato. He didn't know who he was. And he said he was medio pedo, a little bit drunk. And so he's sitting there, and Danny's wearing a sweatshirt that says Homeboy Industries, jobs, not jails. And the medio pedo guy, the little bit drunk guy, sees the sweatshirt, and he says, hey, you work there. And Danny doesn't know whether to engage him, and he nods. And the guy says, is it any good? And Danny shrugs, and he says, well, it's helped me. I don't think I'm going to go back to prison because of this place. And then Danny stands, and he fishes out of his pocket a piece of paper and a pen, and he carefully writes the address of Homeboy Industries on the piece of paper. And he says to me as he's telling me the story, I couldn't believe I knew the address by heart. And he hands it to the guy, and the guy takes it, and he says, come see us. We'll help you. And the guy looks at the piece of paper, and he looks up at Danny, and he says, thank you. And the train stops, and he gets off. Now, Danny returns to that earlier refrain in the telling of the story. What happened to me next has never happened to me in my life. Everyone on the train was staring at me. Everyone on the train was nodding at me. Everyone on the train was smiling at me. And now he can barely speak. And for the first time in my life, I felt admired. And all we could do was weep, because I don't know what else you can do. And suddenly kinship so quickly, a place of exquisite mutuality, a place where there is no us and them, just us. And pretty soon, class of 2023, you will no longer brace yourselves as people accuse you of wasting your time at the margins. For in this place of which you say it is a waste, there will be heard again the voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voices of those who sing. The Chicago School is not the place you've come to. It is the place you go from to let love live through you. For love will always find a way to make windows, and so will you. Congratulations, class of 2023.
Hello, I am Dr. Christine O, Assistant Campus Dean for the Southern California campus. One of the many traditions at institutions of higher learning is to hear from one of our graduates. I am thrilled to present Jenna Foster as a representative of our graduating class. Born and raised in Melbourne, Florida, Jenna set out to California at the age of 17 to pursue an undergraduate degree in sociology. With a heart for people, a passion for discovering new cultures, and a yearning to learn why people do what they do, she came alive while studying in this field. Following college, Jenna lived in Southeast Asia counseling women and girls who were living in a sex trafficking recovery center. While she felt at home doing this job, she knew that she was missing a formal education in psychology. It took 5 years of restaurant work and a global pandemic until Jenna finally pursued a degree in marriage and family therapy. She was privileged to receive therapy as an adolescent after receiving the classic 90s KIG diagnosis for ADHD. Through utilizing the sacred space of therapy to process family problems, to discover how to cope with the catastrophe of puberty, and to learn how to function with ADHD, Jenna fell in love with therapy and knew that she would pursue the profession one day. Jenna recently finished her practicum working as an MFT trainee at a middle school and high school in central LA. She is passionate about making mental health services accessible to everyone. Jenna hopes this degree will not only lead her to an amazing counseling opportunities, but open doors to being part of a changing future. Please join me in welcoming Jenna Foster to the stage.
Hey guys. Woo! All right, for the class of 2023, and I guess everybody else here, in order to write this speech, I was asked, what does it mean to be a student at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology? Well, the first word that came to my mind, and I'm sorry if I trigger you classmates, was systems. And my classmates are probably very over that. You might be confused, family and friends in the audience, and I know my teachers have like a cheeky ear-to-ear grin right now, thinking we did it. So during my interview for grad school, I was asked, what does it mean to be a systems thinker by Dr. Jones? And my answer then was a panicked hodgepodge of thoughts filtered into an unintelligible response that suggested I knew, which I did not, but I somehow still got in. My understanding now is that systems is everything. At the Chicago School, we were taught to be systemic thinkers, understanding that each individual is a part of multiple systems. Whether it be our family, our culture, our workplace, we each possess a distinct role that contributes to a greater apparatus. If one part of that system is broken, it can affect the entire system. As individuals, we live in response to that system all the time, and to that impact all the time, whether we know it or not. So the latest system I and many other graduates here today have been a part of is the Marriage and Family Therapy Program. Has this system affected us? It sure has. There's something very important that the teachers just told me this before. We are a special class. And there's something really important to point out about us is that we all applied to and started grad school in 2020 or 2021. 2020 was a crazy time for those who might forget. We found ourselves in the heat of a global pandemic thinking, what the hell am I doing with my life? Hey, how about grad school? It could be seen as desperate or as brave. Whether becoming a therapist was in the cards for us all along or it was a post-apocalyptic idea to our new career path, we decided to add to the already existing stress of the pandemic. With a little extra reading, endless APA-formatted papers, due dates, but mostly a lot of student loan debt. Though the burnout was real, the solidarity amongst classmates emerged, and we created a beautiful little community. We started our first few semesters on Zoom, in which we only knew each other completely online. When we finally got to meet in person, it was definitely surreal. There was a lot of, oh my gosh, you're so much taller in real life. Oh my gosh, it's me, Jenna, we had trauma and recovery together. I know I'm much more gorgeous in person. But we also got to see the campus for the first time. I was stunned by how professional and elite it felt, and I suddenly began to feel a bit more comfortable with the very high tuition costs. In the classroom, we learned psychological theories, law and ethics, basically the entire DSM-5, multi-generational transmission processes, psychopharmacology, a bunch of simple stuff. And then we got to our final year, in which we started practicum, and we joined a new system. We worked unpaid for a year to require the training hours needed to graduate. I repeat, we worked unpaid for a year. Loved ones, parents, keep that in mind as you're writing your checks. Through practicum, we got the opportunity to practice working as therapists. We were thrown to the wolves. Though it was terrifying to start, my cohort all agreed that we were much more prepared than the trainees from other schools. The fear faded quickly as I felt fairly equipped to be a decent therapist, all thanks to you guys, my professors. I recognize my role in this system of the middle school where I was privileged to do my practicum. I was the mental health person. When I reflect on this, I feel honored and I feel proud. Honored to be someone these middle school kids could trust with their emotions, their feelings, and their experiences. Proud to be an advocate for mental health, and proud that I'm actually capable of being called a therapist. My fellow classmates, I hope you too feel the excitement and honor of getting to be the mental health person in future systems. This last leg of school, for many of us, I know, was very hard. I mean, we're still actually in it, to be fair. We were overwhelmed, we were exhausted, we ran out of money, if I haven't made it clear enough by now, parents. But I know that we powered through because we believe in what we're doing. The elation of knowing that the sacred role and honorable title we were just steps away from holding is what kept us all going. Am I right? Maybe the biggest system each and every person in this room is a part of is society. And I think we can all probably agree that society has really let us down sometimes. Mental health services are needed now as they always have been. And thankfully, it seems that our culture is finally beginning to believe that. No shade to the boomers. Class of 2023, as we move forward, we have new roles in society. I believe that we have everything it takes to thrive in these new, well-earned roles that we worked our butts off for. Surely there will be times that it's hard, but never neglect to use the supportive systems around you and continue to build them up. To the family and friends that are here for us today, thank you for being our home-based support system. We would not be here without you. Class of 2023, we are the future therapists and mental health clinicians and all these other things of the world. I'd be remiss if I didn't say, in the words of the iconic Elle Woods, we did it. Thank you.
Congratulations, Jenna. Let's give her one more round of applause. We shall now proceed with the presentation of graduates for degrees. Whew, I've been waiting for this, right? Each candidate has been approved by the faculty and the Board of Trustees to receive the degree indicated in the program and on their diploma, subject to the completion of all degree requirements. In order for each graduate's name to be heard clearly, I respectfully ask the audience to please hold applause to the end. I know that's hard, but we really want to hear our names as we come across the stage. So to get us started, here we go. Will degree candidates for the Applied Behavior Analysis degrees please approach the stage?
We will now announce the candidates for Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Behavior Analysis Specialization. Henry Sasanga. The effects of training, the culturally informed checklist on the inclusion of questions about client culture during the intake interview, impact on interview behavior, and stakeholder perceptions of social validity. We will now announce the candidates for Master of Science, Applied Behavioral Analysis. Michael Summers. Danielle Cohen. Josephine Chi. Desiree Casares. Amanda Shirley. Cynthia Ibarra Campos. Jennifer Calderon Ibarra. Calvin Liu. John Vitug. Ashley Gomez. Serene Badawi. Will degree candidates for applied clinical psychology degrees please approach the stage? Ariel Carr. The influence of racial identity attitudes on African American or Black women's development of eating disorder behaviors. Chantel Harris. Facebook activity and its correlation on self-esteem and life satisfaction. C. Ogby. An evaluation of the PAR effect, Post-Adversity Resilience Program. Juan Tahoya. Educators' experience working with emotionally disturbed adolescents and children. Gustavo Guerrero. The lived subjective experience of practicing school psychologists engaged in suicide risk assessment. Carlos Alfaro. Potential influence of foster parents' characteristics on attachment relationships with foster children. Mavash Gudarzi. Jacqueline Castellian. Teenage Latina mothers and community support. Senarina Covarrubia. Exploration of quality of life with the use of assistive technology for individuals that are visually impaired or blind. Dr. Juliana Sanchez. Nervous system dysregulation in fibromyalgia and the application of an integrative approach to healing. Vilka Jasmine Smith. Anxiety symptoms and coping responses of African American and Latinx college students and their attitudes towards access to care. Sindol Rios. The relationship between adverse childhood experiences and psychological well-being, self-acceptance, autonomy, environmental mastery, purpose in life, positive relations with others, and personal growth in minority populations along with gender differences. Janet Hendley Granville. Using kindness as an intervention for mental health and well-being. Renee Viveros. A phenomenological study into how mental health practitioners experience and understand emotional support animals. Renata Gerbold. Quality of life of single mothers with children diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder. Mariam Chilangarian. Schizophrenia and opioid use disorder. A perception study based on experiences of mental health professionals. Marisol Escobedo. Adverse childhood experiences and binge drinking in adult women. Josephine Santarascari. How social media affects self-image in women ages 18 through 30. Ebony Smith. Mentorship Program Curriculum Evaluation, measuring the relevancy of risk factor topics in a program created for alt-risk pre-adolescent girls of color. Yolanda Larios. Trauma-Informed Approach, Manual for Law Enforcement Officers Responding to Mental Health Emergencies. Bolaji Adilalie. Nigerian immigrants in United States and their treatment needs. Gordon Priedemann. A gay man's perspective of what factors contribute to being 3+ years sober from crystal methamphetamine. Seema Zandi. Identity development among the multiracial, bicultural population and the effects of multicultural experiences on personality, values, and well-being. Ruby E. Negretta. Intimate partner violence, Latino men and their perception of emotional and verbal abuse. Taylor Harper. A Psychologist's Guide to Patient Populations, what you need to know before specializing in the severely mentally ill. Erica McCaleb. The Intersection of Race and Gender, an examination of traumatic stressors in African American males. Dr. Deandra Hawkins. Effects of parenting styles and emotional support on gang membership status of adolescents. Danielle Lowe. Dr. Sterling, please come forward. Fiona Nottingham. Female gamblers bonded to betting. Catherine Berry Rodriguez. The effect of school-based counseling on adolescent behavior. Angelica Thomas. Skin tone and racial identity, an interpretation and comparison of the psychosocial impact of colorism amongst Black women. Tamisha Sival. Colorism within the Black community, an emotional, psychosocial, and psychological battle on dark and brown-skinned African American women. Heather Garcia. Exploration of borderline personality disorder from a clinician perspective. Dr. Jessica Caleros. Trauma as a precursor to personality disorders and conduct disorder, gender discrepancies. Jessica Lucette. Ensuring children's emotional well-being during custody evaluations. Melissa Gentry. The efficacy and therapeutic benefits of Tantra practices, a qualitative study. Ariana Zabriskie. An archival data review of marital status and well-being. Danielle Olsen-Falks. Parental substance use and initiation of individual substance use. Diana Figueroa. Help-seeking behavior patterns of Latino males. Vanessa Yip. Marital status, mental health, and substance use. Joanne Choi. Disparities in autism diagnostic assessment among Korean and Latino children in California. Kayla Wells. The effects of brief mindfulness on stress and burnout in direct care workers. Ariana Ahani. Examining attachment insecurities, intrinsic, extrinsic motivation, and relationship intimacy in adulthood. Dana Carr. A phenomenological approach assessing the conscious choices and unconscious motives in personal definition and the decision-making of genuine forgiveness. Dr. Vanessa Armas. The motivations for and consequences of performing as an exotic dancer, a qualitative study. Janine Johnson. A qualitative study. Exploring the experiences of African American single motherhood. Ania Shapori. Dr. Sullivan, would you please come forward? Brittany Volker. The relationship among stressors and mental health and the impact on grade point average for doctoral students during a pandemic. Dr. Kiri Bogardis. The correlational relationship between general anxiety and perceived self-efficacy of professionals in the financial industry. Dr. Milana Johnson. The psychological impact of adverse childhood experiences on mental health professionals. Arash Gretanchi. Exploring staff perceptions of employability of foster youth. Hedja Frida Rashid. Let's talk about age, examining the relationship between attitudes towards aging and emotional health among older adults within the United States. Brittany Amani Starworth. The impact of COVID-19 on persons with mental illness receiving outpatient mental health treatment. Asiya Zagaran. Instagram addiction and its correlation on self-compassion and self-esteem. Ambar Shanthe Godinho. Becoming Whole, Resilience in Latinas with History of Childhood Sexual Abuse. Dr. Watkins, please come forward. Elizabeth Jayamaha. Impacts of social isolation on young adults during the COVID-19 pandemic. Giovanna Dumas. The effects of a system not adequately addressing Black trauma, PTSD, and other stress-related disorders. Ekete Epo. Resilience as a moderator between adverse childhood events and perceived racial discrimination among African Americans. Tanisha Simpson. The impact of racial trauma and attachment style of African American grandparent-parent-child triads, a qualitative study. Janicia Foster. Conceptualizing the trauma of racism and early adversity. Will degree candidates for business psychology degrees please approach the stage? We will now announce the candidates for Doctor of Philosophy, Business Psychology. Ruben David. The relationship of interview faking behavior, impression management behavior, Machiavellianism, and counterproductive work behavior. Dr. Cynthia Stern. A Quest for Balance, the impact of perceived value congruence on work-family conflict. Douglas Cook. Do the traditional protectors of job satisfaction still apply? An examination of teleworkers in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. Christopher Soto. Gig work and the impact on emotional labor. Shiyun Xiang. Mutandela Mandalaka. The ERCOT Power Crisis, an exploration of culture as a driver of organizational resilience. We will now announce the candidates for Doctor of Philosophy, Organizational Leadership. Christopher Ely. Groupthink when it comes to preference falsification. Toyin Thompson. A relationship, path goal leadership styles, and direct care workers' engagement despite burnout factors in behavioral health treatment environments. Bridget Horan. An exploration of employee and stakeholder perceptions of corporate social responsibility in the utility industry. Danielle Portney. Attachment at work. Examining the relationship between attachment style, psychological well-being, and work performance. Danielle Portney. Takara Jones. Black women social workers transitioning from mentee to leader, an interpretive phenomenological analysis. Delaney Tilo. Cultural dynamics that influence leadership practices of Samoan leaders in the American Samoa Government Organization. We will now announce the candidates for Master of Arts, Behavioral Economics. Would Dr. DeWalt please step forward? Travis Johnson. We will now announce the candidates for Master of Arts, Industrial and Organizational Psychology. Liliana Valencia. Nancy Martinez. Christina Charlton. Amanda Marin. Hannah Lanyon. Lauren Young. John Fan. Amethyst Cecil. Maricela Hurtado Velasquez. Gabriela Sanchez. Veronica Vasquez. James Ingram. Vanessa Adisa. Will degree candidates for Anaheim Clinical Psychology degrees please approach the stage? We will now announce the candidates for Doctor of Psychology, Clinical Psychology. Dr. Jessica Liard. The effect of attachment style and self-verification on relationship satisfaction. Dr. Ruton Liu. The use of metaphor in therapy facilitates change. Denise Wynn. Predictors of frontline healthcare providers' anxiety and guideline adherence following the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Juan Santillán. Effects of biotuning intervention on stress, depression, and anxiety during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Manuel Malik. Mental health professional or religious figure. How Coptic Orthodox Christians in America approach the needs of those suffering from mental illness. Dr. Yvonne Hunt. Anti-religious and racial discrimination in clinical psychology programs. Dr. Heather Lee Kessler. Psychologist attitudes and experiences regarding psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, PAP, specifically MDMA. Dr. Janet Mendoza. The effect of the imposter syndrome on psychological well-being in Latino undergraduate students. Olutanji Terry. A quantitative examination of the good black stereotype and its relationship to African Americans. Dr. Valerie Friedman. Attribution bias, mental health, and correctional officers. Does race play a role in how correctional officers perceive inmates? Dr. Haley LeCount. Incarcerated populations and rehabilitation, effects and public attitudes. Dr. Joel Semeneigo. Addiction cessation, a retrospective analysis of addiction cessation without the use of formal treatment. Sharon Nunez Madriz. A quantitative examination of skin tone preference in the African American community. Briannika Robinson. A qualitative examination of school-based play therapy. Dr. Alyssa Byerly. Suicide survivors' stories. The experiences, grief, and coping of those left behind. Dr. Corrine Schwartz. The relationship between technology use and parent-child bonding. Dr. Hannah Bradley. Protective factors on cognitive decline in Parkinson's disease. We will now announce the candidates for Doctor of Psychology, Clinical Psychology. Los Angeles campus. Dr. Cecily Beckman. Redefining strength, identifying barriers to strong Black women seeking mental health services. Dr. Arbel Eckstein. The relationship between coping skills, self-efficacy, and stages of change among substance abusers with a history of relapse in outpatient treatment. Dr. Dana Langston. Impact of a crisis intervention team program on police attitudes towards persons with mental illness. Dr. Antoinette Singleton. Attachment style and its effects on interpersonal problems within the asexual community. Dr. Lydia Stevenson. The impact of vicarious trauma symptoms among clinicians who work with forensic-based population. Dr. Nicole Leidick. The effects of a mid to moderate traumatic brain injury, whether recent or remote, on cognitive functioning in older adults. Dr. Taylor Nash. The relationship of parental self-efficacy and child behavior with anxiety as a moderator. Dr. Kelly McComb Whitelow. Impact of high stress and lack of sleep quality among clinical psychology trainees on their clinical performance. Dr. Samantha Mongold. Relationship between parenting and parental distress, parental anxiety and quality of life in parents of children with autism and neurotypical children. Dr. Rosetta Patatanian. Effectiveness of mindfulness apps on stress reduction. Dr. Tori Pearson. Dr. Corey Pearson. Examining the selected effects of musical elements on depressive symptoms in young adults. We will now announce the candidates for Master of Arts, Clinical Psychology. Dr. Bruce and Dr. Ballas, please come forward to congratulate your students. Joseph Arthur Anderson Gutierrez, Jr. Dea Brewer. Lindsay Buford. Ileana Holmgren. Jayla Jefferson. Gertrude Davidson Teta. Addie Eilenberger. Malia Liebert. Carla Lizarga. Melissa Lopez. Mariam Rubio. Fatima Tabassum Syed. Pearl Wangsobchart. Will degree candidates for clinical psychopharmacology degrees please approach the stage? Dr. DeWalt, please come forward to congratulate your students. Jennifer Williams. We will now announce the candidates for Master of Arts, Clinical Mental Health Counseling. Alicia Hartz. Jose Daniel Gonzalez. Julia Aguilar. We will now announce the candidates for Doctor of Psychology, Clinical Forensic Psychology. Dr. Suzette Guran. Dr. Kendra Williams. Depression and grief of law enforcement officers injured in the line of duty. Dr. Courtney Camille Marshall. Battered woman syndrome as a legal defense in cases of intimate partner homicide. Wilma Elliott Hanna. An exploration of anxiety responses to interactions with racially discriminatory behaviors on social media, implications for clinical and forensic psychology. Dr. Marissa Rieskes. The labeling of a psychopath, its influence on jury verdicts. Dr. Tara Peterson. Response styles and characteristics of child custody litigants on the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, 2nd edition, MMPI-2. Dr. Alicia Schneider. Politics in the jury. Assessing the influence of political party affiliation and racial bias in decision-making. Dr. Belinda Garcia. Self-efficacy and post-traumatic stress disorder among female veterans. Dr. Jessica Torres. Understanding the role of empathy in sentencing women who have committed filicide. Dr. Yelena Matavosian. Writing programs aided in lowering juvenile recidivism rates. We will now announce the candidates for a Master of Arts Forensic Psychology. Kiara Igari. Carrie Belbeck. Diane Long. Bethany Hewitt. Demi Rogers. Suma Elmansi. Christina Wiseman. Francesca Kegilaro. Camille Watson. Ashley Brooksbank. Christine Rosas. Alexandria Neal. Genevieve Nemirovsky. Jessica Gonzalez. Michaela Lutari. Patrice Isabel Bautista. Lisbeth Dominguez. Angelica Rose Delgado. We will now announce the candidates for Doctor of Philosophy, International Psychology. Dr. DeWalt, please come forward. Dr. Sarah Chaudhry. An Exploration of Changing Understandings in Mental Health, a Pakistani-American Study. Dr. Amber O'Neill Smith. Perinatal Well-Being, a Filipina Perspective. We will now announce the candidates for Master of Arts, International Psychology. Antonia Abraham. Will degree candidates for marriage and family therapy degrees please approach the stage? We will now announce the candidates for Doctor of Psychology, Marital and Family Therapy. Maria Teresa Orozco. Motherhood and Gangs, the experience of Latina mothers in Los Angeles street gangs. Lisa Nui Mesa. Stress management training for parents of autistic children. Alicia Marshall Lander. The effects of integrating spirituality and mental health treatment for African American adults. Michael Gray. The Gray Method, a Delphi consensus study. Jamie Johnson, Family Consciousness, an experimental program to increase closeness in relationships. Gabriela Ramos Jacob, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy for Individuals with Sensory Processing Sensitivity who experience psychological distress. Dr. Alejandro Zavala, the Coda Familia program for families affected by alcoholism and addiction of a loved one. Dr. Cecily Marietta, Creating Motivation for Indigenous Youth. Jimmy Nguyen, Asian Cultural Identity and Telehealth Psychotherapy. Melissa O'Keefe, on becoming a self-compassionate mother. Dr. Shakita Junius, Staying Married After Infidelity, Exploring the African American Marital Experience. We will now announce the degrees for Master of Arts Clinical Psychology, MFT specialization. Aziza Robertson, Elizabeth Carla Limos, Evelyn Lopez, Aura Gatewood, Stephanie Marquez, we will now announce the candidates for Master of Arts, Marriage, Couples, and Family Therapy. Jenna Higgins, Emily Barazzo, Caitlin Vineyard, Jenna Foster, Lindsay Angle, Kelly Myrick, Adriana Lopez, Andrea Nicole Reyes, Lauren Liu, Melody Nazari, Courtney Benson, Karen Lepe, Fernanda Aranda. Ryan Riley. Natalie Dungy. Dylan Amsalam. Lindsay Hall. Karina Rosales. Jessica Navarez. Felicia Villa. Helen Cisneros. Justin Frankel. Keith McCormick. Andrew Riley. Cameron Wall. Lo Lachine. Natalie Karapetian. Darylyn Leonard. Alicia Marie Crooks. Brittany Agorsa. TM Bent. Fatima Ferreras. Nicole Hofer. Melissa Martin. Kayla Hassas. Nikki Gavam. Lindsay Major. Danielle Dunn. Jake Butler. Cassidy Gorman. Carla Elvira Corrales. Lauren Ho. Elizabeth Gomez. Daniela Estefany Raza Soto. Brittany De Guzman. Yolanda German. Jaleel Vasquez. Jack Murphy. Emma Somas. Ivan Arieno. Shole Murati. Juliana Blackstone. Kimberly Baird Lyon. Kyuong Lee. Will degree candidates for psychological degrees please approach the stage? Dr. DeWalt, please come forward to congratulate your students. We will now announce the candidates for Master of Arts Psychology. Abby Chabel. Tiara Silva. Marina Wase. Miguel Santiago. Richard Ortega. Yadira Cisneros. We will now announce the candidates for Bachelor of Arts Psychology. Jacob Marcus. John Lee. Manami Furuhashi. Mary Kate Hogue. Jose Victor Avalos. Aaron Hatley. Myra Palacios. Elisa Paget. Bonnie Badillo. Valeria Guerrero. Jim Dandy Chris Wee. Claudia Vasquez Morales. Madison Cooper.
Here's the fun part. Will all the candidates rise? President Nealon, on behalf of the faculty of the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, I present to you these candidates who have been approved by the faculty and the Board of Trustees to receive the degrees indicated, subject to the completion of all requirements, and respectfully request that you confer upon them the degrees for which they are qualified.
Thank you, Dr. Schultz. And you'll note he said subject to the completion because you have one more thing you have to do. And that is you have to show us how well you can dance. That is not going to get you your degree. You all have to dance. Come on, shake it out. Show us how good you are. Dr. Jones, what do you think? Nah, it's got to shake it out more. Come on, you can do it. That was a lot better. Okay. Now, by the authority vested in me by the state of California and the Board of Trustees of the Chicago School, and because you can dance, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have qualified with all of the rights, privileges, immunities, and honors thereunto pertaining. You did it.
You can be seated. I have the honor of recognizing the winners of our 2023 Distinguished Teaching Awards. First bestowed in 2006, these honors support and recognize faculty members who demonstrate excellence in the classroom, public service, and multicultural teaching. The recipients are nominated by students and their peers. Award recipient, please stand and be recognized when your name is called. For Multicultural Teaching Excellent Award, Dr. Claudia Shields, Clinical Psychology Department, so-called campus. Congratulations, and thank you, Dr. Shields, for your academic leadership.
Good afternoon. I'm Alicia DeWalt, Dean for the Online College. All graduates, please rise to recite the Oath of Affirmation, which will be displayed on the screen stage and is located in the Commencement program. Graduates, please raise your right hand and recite with me in unison. Other professionals may join us to reaffirm their oath. I hereby affirm that I shall discharge the responsibilities of my profession in a manner consistent with respect for the dignity and worth of the individual, and that I shall strive for the preservation and protection of fundamental human rights. That I shall seek to increase knowledge of human behavior, to increase self-understanding, understanding of others. Of others. That I shall seek to embrace the profession's commitment to understand and respect individual, social, contextual, and cultural differences. That I shall diligently protect the human rights of those who seek my services, and that I shall use my skills only in the furtherance of human rights and the integrity of the individual. That I shall strive to acknowledge and remove systematic barriers that prevent the ability of groups, individuals, and organizations to access services that promote the well-being of all. And I shall well and truly recognize the traditions, ethics, and boundaries of my profession, and that I shall subscribe to these traditions and ethics freely and upon my honor. As a representative of the Chicago school community, I hereby affirm to actively participate in this learning and professional community by embracing its commitment to understand and respect individual, social, contextual, and cultural differences. As such, I will seek to gain knowledge of human difference, that I may increase my understanding of self and others, and I will seek to build an environment of mutual respect and inclusion where all are valued.
Please be seated, graduates, for one more minute or two. Well, congratulations to all of you. Again, it really is my great honor and privilege to celebrate you and your loved ones today and welcome you to the Chicago school community in a new way. You've accomplished so much during your time as Chicago school students, balancing the chaos of a pandemic, the changing needs of remote learning, and your own personal and professional responsibilities. You persevered in the face of every single challenge, never once losing sight of your ultimate educational and professional goals. I'm inspired every single day by your unwavering determination to continue onward and upward, no matter the obstacles that have been thrown in your path. I know that this sense of resolve will help you navigate through any challenges in your personal and professional lives in the years ahead. And of course, while I can't predict the future, I can predict that you are equipped to address any crisis with poise and compassion, two hallmarks of the Chicago school community. Before moving further, I want to take a moment to thank all of your loved ones that have joined you today. Thank you for standing by your students at each and every turn, providing critical support when staying the course felt almost impossible to them. As partners for your students, you have been instrumental to the development of the next generation of dynamic leaders who we all know will bring about positive change for our communities. Our students could not have reached today without you. So in so many ways, you are our unsung heroes. Thank you. To the graduates, receiving your degree is certainly a monumental accomplishment in and of itself, but it's not and it never will be the finish line. Rather, it is the end of just an early chapter of your work. Your education is never, ever completely finished. There's always more to be learned from those around you and more growth to be had. As the philosopher Plutarch once penned, the mind is not a vessel that needs filling, but wood that needs igniting. As lifelong learners, the key is to nurture that spark for your future and to use that spark to guide you through the challenges ahead. I know that your time as a Chicago School student has lit a fire within you, a fire to provide empathic support for those in need, regardless of your exact role or work ahead. I urge you to follow your fire and your passion for service to others as far as you can, finding innovative ways to support those most in need. Furthermore, part of your role as a graduate is not just to use that fire to fuel your own growth and success, but also to use your fire to always light the way for others. As I hope you've learned here at the Chicago School, the progress that you can make alone is nothing and never will be everything compared to what we can all achieve together. As a Chicago School graduate, it's your responsibility to blaze new trails and guide others towards community justice, lighting their flames along the way, providing others with the skills and confidence that they need to pursue their dreams. Now, of course, fire can be damaging as well, destroying anything in its path, often unintentionally. This is true of your educational fire as well. We've seen far too many stories of supposed experts using their knowledge to oppress, silence, or mislead. Now more than ever, we need you to nurture your flame for good and simply for good's sake, using it to light trails towards equity and to provide a voice for those we all too neglect in our silence. As I hope you will always see, the diploma that you receive today is far from a one-time award. It represents the lighting of your lifelong flame and your lifelong commitment to serving those around you. By joining our community of alumni, you commit to using your fire to build and to discover. With this fire lit, I cannot wait to see all that you will accomplish in the years ahead. And I truly am so, so very proud to call you official Chicago School alumni. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you, by the way. Congratulations to our graduating students and welcome to our alumni family. That was hers. This concludes the 2023 commencement exercises for the Southern California and online campuses. Guests, please remain seating until all faculty and graduates have exited the auditorium. Thank you very much and congratulations.